2025 was a year that tested Nigeria's diplomacy, and not in isolation, but in a way that intersects with the economics, regional influence, and security. President Bola Tinubu came into office pledging to re-engage the world, and by mid-term in 2025, he had traveled extensively, undertaking over 30 trips to about 20 countries across Africa, Europe, the Middle East, Asia, and the Americas, projecting Nigeria as open for business and determined to reclaim diplomatic relevance.
I am with you. In Nigeria, we are back.
Nigeria is open for business.
Nigeria is offering a great deal of opportunity.
The opposition criticizes the frequency of the trips as excessive and costly. The presidency, however, insists they are guided by Tinubu's 4D doctrine of development, democracy, demography, and the diaspora, arguing that Nigeria's size and influence required constant global engagements. The year began in West Africa. In January, Tinubu traveled to Ghana, pushing for ECOWAS reform at a time when military takeovers were weakening regional cooperation. That regional focus quickly expanded. By February, talks in the United Arab Emirates centered on aviation and clean energy. In March, Tinubu joined African leaders in Tanzania to discuss energy transition and supply chains. April took him to France, where economic and security ties with Europe were reinforced. Yet, behind the travel, Nigeria's diplomatic infrastructure was strained. Embassies remained without ambassadors following their recall in 2023, limiting Nigeria's ability to shape conversations in some of the world's most influential capitals.
It is a very unusual position for 2 years not to have ambassadors in post. I think the president owes us really an explanation. There must be something there. When you leave the top posts empty, in a way, yes, the president can go visiting, and yes, they will give him all the honors and give him all the attention. But on everyday, today activities happen on the diplomatic plane.
In May, Tinubu traveled to Rome on an invitation to attend papal inauguration, a moment rich in symbolism. A Muslim president from Africa's most religiously diverse nation, meeting the Catholic Church at its highest levels, underscored Nigeria's emphasis on interfaith coexistence.
It's consistent in the true sense of unity in diversity. And I'm greatly honored. We have to continue to work on it. It's a work in progress for the sake of our country and the continent as a whole.
Very, very symbolic and indicative of the great solidarity that he continues to show, not just to the Muslim community, but to the entire Christian community. He has shown this solidarity with the millions of people who are of the Catholic faith in Nigeria by attending this Mass, being himself a Muslim. This has also shown his commitment to the advancement of peace, not just in the African region, but globally also.
He's a man who's tolerant of all religions and who believes in interfaith harmony, and who has even demonstrated it by the kind of appointments he made.
But that symbolism soon gave way to geopolitical realities. In November, the United States redesignated Nigeria as a country of particular concern, citing religious freedom and human rights issues. Washington's strongest rebuke in years. Abuja rejected the designation and, in the absence of an ambassador in Washington, dispatched a delegation led by the National Security Advisor. The United States' decision drew swift international reaction. China warned against external interference.
On Trump's threat of military deployment in Nigeria, Mandarin, as Nigeria's comprehensive strategic partner, China firmly supports the Nigerian government in leading its people on the development path suited to its national conditions. China firmly opposes any country using religion and human rights as an excuse to interfere in other countries' internal affairs, and threatening other countries with sanctions and force.
The European Union urged restraint. ECOWAS criticized the move, and France expressed solidarity with Nigeria. Taken together, the responses underscored Nigeria's continued diplomatic relevance. President Bola Tinubu described the decision as a political headwind, but insists investors' confidence remained intact, pointing to oversubscribed Eurobond issuances.
Despite the political headwind and the fear of our people, we continue to engage with our partners. The success of the 2.3 billion bond subscription, oversubscribed, is the most at this stage. We are engaging the world diplomatically. I assure all of you that we will, defeat terrorism in this country.
Amid the diplomatic tension with Washington, the administration moved to address a glaring weakness. Tinubu nominates 68 ambassadors, ending a prolonged diplomatic vacuum. The appointments were largely welcomed.
The appointment of certain personnel, especially those with intelligence and security background, to high-profile countries like America, US, as the case may be, these are countries that normally, if there's needs or cough, the whole world will shake, as the case may be. You cannot discuss international relationship or politics without mentioning countries like America, Germany, France, as the case may be. So I think sending this caliber of persons, taking into consideration their cognate experience, their professional experience, their previous classification to this particular sensitive country at a time that the image of Nigeria is at its lowest ebb is simply the right thing to do.
Though some drew criticism.
Generally speaking, I think the elephant has given back to a rat. For consideration, it is not individual. It is the timing and the process. Here's the thing. 2 years and 2 months to give us people who we know are friends of government already, who have been doing that. They've not discovered anything.
The list, yes, aside, there are some good names on that list. But the bulk of the people there have no business being in the diplomatic service.
The immediate past the INEC chairperson, can't he just go and rest?
And do something.
And do something else, but in government? Okay, say Brazil, with, the non-existent 1-point-something billion airport that up to today we don't really know what happened.
Some of the administration's efforts to ensure Nigeria had a voice on the global stage began to show results in 2025. It formally accepted an invitation to join BRICS as a partner country, while also stepping up calls for greater African representation at the United Nations Security Council.
Nigeria therefore called on BRICS to lead a new path of justice anchored on fairness.
For much of the year, the president's travel schedule remained active. By June and July, a 2-week tour of Brazil and St. Lucia produced agreements in energy, agriculture, aviation, security, and technology. In St. Lucia, the president addressed Parliament and received one of the country's highest national honors. Later, visits to Japan and renewed engagements with Latin America signaled a broader effort to diversify Nigeria's global partnerships beyond traditional allies. By the final quarter, domestic insecurity began to reshape Nigeria's diplomatic posture. Foreign travel slowed, with Vice President Kashim Shettima representing Nigeria at international meetings as focus shifted inward.
We do not only fight wars, we pit and shelter the innocent victims of war. This is why we are not indifferent to the devastations of our neighbors near and distant. This is why we speak of the violence and aggression visited upon innocent civilians in Gaza, the illegal attack on Qatar, and the tensions that scars the wider region. It is not only because of the culture of impunity that makes such acts intolerable, but because our own bitter experience has taught us that such violence never ends where it begins.
But nowhere was the link between foreign policy and security clearer than in West Africa. As Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger formally exited ECOWAS, plunging the bloc into its deepest crisis, Nigeria positioned itself as a stabilizing force. Tinubu, who handed over the ECOWAS chairmanship in June, continued to press for dialogue over isolation.
We must act decisively to operationalize the ECOWAS standby force on the fight against terrorism to serve as an instrument for peace and stability for our region.
That approach was tested in neighboring Benin, where a failed coup attempt prompted swift regional coordination. Nigeria led diplomatic and security interventions, reinforcing Abuja's view that Nigeria's internal security cannot be separated from the stability of its neighbors.
We would not be doing ourselves any good if Republic of Benin has a problem and we don't help in tackling it and tackling it decisively. The insecurity problem that we're facing today, like I said, is a regional problem. It is a Sahelian problem, it is a Lake Chad Basin problem, and the factors that are affecting us are mostly exogenous.
By the end of 2025, President Bola Tinubu's diplomacy painted a mixed balance sheet. An ambitious global outreach, pressure from Washington, a fractured West African region, and a foreign service only beginning to reset. No doubt, 2025, Nigeria was unmistakably visible on the global stage. But 2026 will determine if that visibility delivers security at home, brings tangible investment that drives growth, and a lasting diplomatic influence. From the presidential villa, Adesuwa, Omoruan, Arise News.